Right, what's going on, everyone? Back again. The Making of series, episode 2. This time, my song, Festival Anthem, which is released on Hippies Records. I'm excited to get into this one, man. It's a wicked song. I'm really proud of this song. And yeah, we're going to get right into it. Let's go. Right, coming in, let's get into it. So, with this tune, the energy is just funky. It's a funky song. It ain't really. I wouldn't really say it's a tech house record because it's just it's like a funky, really groovy drums, and it's just energy. The energy's high throughout the whole song. Right, let's go. So, drum wise, I'll just play you the drums as we get into it. I'll do some more explaining. Oh, okay, now. Right, so there's a lot going on there. There's a lot layered, plenty of loops. I love a loop. Plenty of good loops, well selected loops. Nothing that there's nothing there that don't need to be there. So I'm going to show you each individual stem, like going from kick to clap to hi hat, and then everything in between. Right, so what I've done here, I don't do this a lot because sometimes it can get messy, but sometimes on the kick drum, it may be a missing frequency that you might need. In this case, the top end, like the bottom end kick, was like lacking some top end. So I've laid it up on another channel. I've put like a really sharp top end kick with it, just to it punches through nicely in the mix. Right. Right, so you hear that that's like the groove of the whole track. That's gonna just keep it running and keep it grooving throughout the whole track. So that's like the main sort of loop-ish, I think. But there's plenty to go through here. Nice shakers there, just nicely layered. Yeah, so they're the drums. I'm going to go into a couple of things individually because there's some processing on here that some of you lot might find informative. So on the kick drum, there's quite a bit of processing on this kick, I believe. So that's the top end kick, and this is the bottom end kick. So straight away, I've run the bottom end kick through a compressor, just stock Logic compressor, and I go on there and I go in the presets, and it's called Type R kick drum, and this thing just makes it sound fat. But what you might want to do is, you might want to play with the attack. So when you're compressing a kick drum, if you want to get more of a smack to it, you want to be putting it to a higher attack rate, like a higher attack, because the shorter the attack, the more punch you're taking out, and the slower that your attack is, the more punch you're going to be letting through that compressor. So yeah, compressor's the first plug-in. Second plug-in on the agenda is an EQ. And obviously where I've put the high kick drowned, fucking hell, I'm talking bollocks again. Where I've put the high kick sample over the top, I've chopped a bit of the highs off the bottom one, and I'm ducking around 314 just to take some of that mud out. And then I've got another EQ here. As you can tell, I've not done my... Oh, mate, I always do this. I've not took the bass off, whatever that is, low pass or high pass. I'm not a technical bod. You know I'm not a technical bod, but I've not took the bass off. I've left that job to this other EQ, and I've just took 35 hertz off, just to keep it nice and short and sweet. Not short and sweet, but nice and crisp, nice and crispy, as we go. Now in terms of loops, there's plenty of loops on here. Just all really mixed nicely. Like nothing, I'm not putting nothing on there that don't need to be on there. I'm being very selective with the plugins that I use. I'm using my head, I'm using my ears, and if I listen to something that needs it, I'm applying it. So nothing too mad on this loop here. I've got a compressor on, I've got an EQ and a compressor on that loop. And I'm just going to go through the motions. I don't know what this is. On this one, there's a little bit of work. I'm going to solo it. I'm going to isolate it for you so you can have a listen. So it's this loop here. So this is, again, like, I'm going for funky vibes, not too techie, just like happy, uplifting. And what I've done here, I've gone with a surgical EQ. I've gone with the Isotope Ozone EQ because I just feel like it gives you a real. If you've got a messy loop and you need to cut out them sharp frequencies, sometimes the other EQs ain't going to do it. And with this particular EQ, you can be very surgical with your cuts and stuff. So I've chopped off about 150 hertz. What I've it there, and then I've ducked around. What is that? 900, and then I've took out. See this problem area here, about 4,000 hertz. You're gonna get a lot of shit in there. So just doing everything that I need to do. And I think I've even got one more EQ here. Very subtle now. I'm taking away 350, a bit of mud, and I'm boosting a little bit around 4 or 5k. So yeah, I mean that's it for the drums. I'm gonna keep it rolling now. A lot of people actually say to me, don't I bust my drums together into a drum bus and then process? I used to do that, but I then found that it took away a lot of the dynamics of the track, like it just sounded too squashed. So for my listen, there might be some tunes where I will need to group them together and process them as one, but really and truthfully, for a lot of my tracks, I like it to be bouncy. I like there to be some sort of dynamics, because when it gets time to master, that's when you're going to be squashing your track. That's when you're going to be compressing the life out of it. So I like to have a lot of dynamics in my track, as many as I possibly can without it sounding pony, obviously. So I'm going to keep it running now, into the bass line, into the tune. Right, so first thing on the cards, you've got the vocal. It's like an African, it says here, Afro. It's like an African lady singing a nice little sample. I don't know what she's talking about, but it sounds good. So yeah, I'll run you through the processing on the vocal, because that's how we do, that's what we do. So first thing on the cards is JJP vocals. Definitely a go-to. Like on the previous video, I go in with CLA like normally, but sometimes I go in with both. In this case, I've gone in with both. So you've got these presets here, like the magic and the space. Obviously, space is reverb. You've got control over the lows and the highs. I've not really compressed it loads, but I've just tailored it. I've got the female preset on here, and I've tailored it to my liking. And then I've run it through an EQ. So here I have got. I've got that on the go, so I'm cutting off a lot of the bottom end, like 160, boosting slightly at 200. There must have been a tone. When you're processing vocals, you're looking for tone, you're looking for sweet tones, you're looking for tones that make you go, like, you're looking for nice tones in a vocal. So it may be high. So what I do is I get an EQ, I get a, you'd call it a bell. So you want to sweep through your song, and if I find a nice tone, then I'll either boost it, and then if I find a shit tone, I'll cut it. So here I've boosted at 200, I've cut up 3,000, and I've put a high. Listen, I don't know the technical tones. You know what I mean? I've chopped the highs off about 10k, quite a lot really. Normally I don't do it that much, but that must have been the way that I was mixing it, that I wanted to get it to sound nice. And then I've gone and I've run it through CLA. Put some more reverb on it, slap delay, stereoized it a little bit, and boosted some of the upper lows. Again, there was obviously some lovely tones in that lower area of the vocal. A lot of the time there ain't nice tones in the lower end of the vocal, but this particular sample, must have had some really nice tones. Right, another thing, going straight in with a bass line. So I'm going to play that again for you. Really subtle, actually. Like, it's not really in your face, it's just groovy, like sitting there nicely where it needs to sit. Right, here we go. Back into the processing. I'm running it through a bass amp. First of all, stock Logic plugin, selecting the tone that I thought I needed, which in this case was tone number 1, and then running it through a compressor. Again, all of this is mixing and using your ears and using your head and applying things that you really need. It's not ducking an awful lot there. It's only ducking a little bit. Again, I don't squash the life out of things. I squash it when I need to and how I need to. And then flanger, which is doing very, very little. I ain't even gonna show that because it's not really doing nothing, to be fair, yeah. Some of the bits on here don't really need to be on there. So the flanger ain't doing much. Pedal board is it's just like tube. It's just like saturation tubes. And then EQ here, I'm cutting off loads really. I'm cutting around now looking at it. The bass could have been mixed differently, but saying that, the tune sounds, I'm really happy with the way that the song sounds, so it must have been right. I wouldn't advise cutting off 80 Hertz unless you're going to put a sub underneath your tune. I actually didn't put a sub underneath this tune, but it just sounds, but I got it sounding the way that I wanted it to sound, and it sounds good in a club. Play it out every set, it smashes it, sounds good. So yeah, what I've done here, I've cut 80 Hertz off, cut all the highs off, and I've ducked a little bit at 99 Hertz. Now, see, this duck at 99 Hertz is really important because in basses, you get them tones, you get them off tones, and you need to be surgical with it. Because if you take too much away, then you're going to take the life out of it. But here, I've just ducked a little bit. And then side chain. In my previous video, I explained what a side chain was. It's just where the kick and bass, sometimes you can get muddled up frequencies. And the kick goes through the compressor and ducks the bass. Now, thinking about it, the reason that I've cut 80 Hertz off this bass is because I've got a very sub-prominent kick. Like, the kick in this tune is heavy, like it's thumpy. So I must have, like, mixing is prioritising. You need to prioritise what you want to sound, you know, what's most important to you. The bass is very important, obviously, but in this tune, the kick for me was needed to be driving. So, you know, sometimes you've got to prioritise and choose what you want and what's going to work. So that's the bass running. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to keep the tune rolling now. Right, straight away going in here. There's a lovely little, it's like a whistle. It's like a whistle. I don't know where it comes from or what it is, but it's lovely. Yeah, so that's lovely coming in, and yeah, we've got the vocals coming in. We've got the string here, nice string, giving it some nice. I love a string in my breakdowns and my build-ups. Adds a lot of energy to the track. Right. So as this is a sample, this is one of the main samples of the song. While this is building up, yeah, again, it's like a sweep, but it's perfect for the tune, the atmosphere and the energy of the track, perfect for it. Oh, hold on. Some bongos as well playing there. Nice bongos playing there. Right, so the vocal on the drop is part of that sweep that I was telling you about. Yeah, it's a good little sample, lovely sample. Make my body. Just energy, perfect for the track, fits in lovely. Got some of them festival whistles because it's a festival anthem. It's lovely. Get that nice whistle again. Yeah, see them bongos that come in there. They're rough on the drums. I didn't want to bring them in straight away. Didn't want to shoot my bolt too soon, as they say. I wanted to bring it in nice and just when it needs to come in. And now we're going to be going into the breakdown, like the big breakdown and drop, which is my favourite bit of the track. Was actually producing this this breakdown, like full of effects, full of things going on everywhere. So let's crack on. Like just quieting down now, geez on the bongos. Good. Right, so this bit is energy now. Like on the last track, on What You Waiting For, I explained this, adding that crowd effect. It ain't the same one every time, but it just gives it some energy. So here, what coming in, you've got toms, just giving it a nice vibe. Got the crowd there. Which is good, it's like a siren sample. Another siren. Yeah, so listen, it's the same formula for me as per usual. On the drop, you just want everything in there, like all your elements, without it sounding messy. Obviously, that's obviously a priority as well. Making sure that there's nothing clashing and that you ain't making your mix messy. But the bongos are in there now. There's a crowd on the drop, like a crowd atmosphere thing that's giving it a lot of energy. And yeah, like really and truthfully, I think that's a wrap for this tune, you know. Oh, I'm going to run through the mastering as always. I like running through the mastering because, yeah, basically, I remember explaining this before, but for the people that don't know, I actually master my songs in the same project as the mix down because it gives me more freedom going back to that mix, and like otherwise it just used to do my head and keep on having to bounce that mix down and then fucking going back to it a million times. So I just like having it all in one project. Yeah. Right, I'm going to run through a little bit of mastering with you now. So the first thing on the mastering chain is going to be a stock Logic EQ. And here I've just took off 30 hertz cut off, ducked a little bit around 1k, ducked another little bit about around 5k, and just taken about 20,000. Just really just stops it from being harsh. So it ain't harsh to your ear, so you don't listen to it and there's anything that pokes out, that sticks out, that annoys you. And then going into my listen, I'm giving my secrets away to you lot. So basically, I told you before, I stack my compressors. I stack the SSL Waves compressors. So first one on the cards here, we've got a really short attack. Again, like this ain't like, listen, maybe it's not what you should do, but I just do what works for my track. Actually, I made this song about 1.5 years ago, and my mixing abilities and my ability as an engineer and as a producer have got better. So looking at this now, some of the things I think, fucking hell, I should have done a little bit differently. The first compressor that you put on your songs, actually, when you're mastering, the attack should be a bit longer because you're going to be cutting out a lot of the transients. But anyway, in this case, the first compressor I've put on, it's quite a short attack, and I'll put it on auto because the compressor just reads it and just does the release how it sees fit, I suppose. Now the second one on there is a higher attack. I'm doing it back to front. Now knowing what I know, I would probably go and do it differently. But listen, it sounds great. It works in a club, so I'm happy with the way it sounds. Again, higher attack now on auto, and then the next one, I think it should be on 30, if I'm right yet. So basically, what I'd do now is completely back to front. I'd have the higher one on the start and the shorter one on the end. But there you go. I'm learning, as we all are. So yeah, so they're the compressors. Next thing on the card is a EQ. So here I'm boosting around 1,000, and I'm taking away. I'm doing a little duck. Again, these are not the boost ain't surgical, but I like this plug-in for it's a bit because you can use it in a surgical way. You can be really precise with what you're doing. And I'm boosting the highs a little bit. So I'm taking away. So it's a procedure of boosting and cutting nicely. And then the next plug-in is going to be a stereo imager. I'll show you that now. So again, always want your bass in mono, because when you're playing it in a club, that's what it is. Mono's the only thing that's really running. I'm boosting the stereo field in the mid-range, ducking in the high mids, and boosting in the highs. And that looks like this. It's quite a wide track, to be honest, but listen, it sounds brilliant in a club, so it's tried and tested. And the next thing on the cards is a filter. Now, the reason I put a filter on, because before the drops, like on the build-ups and that, I usually take away 100 hertz just before the drop, just so it gives it that nice impact when it drops in. You know it's there. You know what I mean? The bass is there. And then last but not least is the limiter. Now, I swear by this limiter. This limiter is the nuts. I put all different presets depending on the track. I just see what works best with my track and the way that I've compressed it, etc. So I'm doing +8 on this particular tune, and I've got the House Fat and Punchy preset, and it's the FabFilter Pro limiter. And that, my friends, is a wrap for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I love this song. It's out now on Hippies Records, so I would love all of you to go and support this tune. So yeah, I'm going to keep these videos coming. Every song that I release, I'll be putting out the making of video for it, to show and use how I go about making a tune. I think it's good. I think it's informative for you lot. And listen, it's all good. It's all love. So listen, share this video. Give me a like. Give me a little comment if you're feeling it. And thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you.